Welcome to Music Matters Podcast with Daryl Craig Harris, talking about all things music with celebrities, artists, music business insiders, and more.
JacQ Becker, how you doing today?
I am good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
I'm good. Yeah, just running around, busy as I'm sure you are. I know you got a lot of stuff going on.
Yes, today's the day. My album is out.
Yes, awesome. So you're actually, a lot of people would know you as a viral kids music creator, writer, producer. You've had already one, I guess, well, was it one album first, and then now this is the second album. Is that correct?
Yes. I had a project come out, I believe in 2021, which was under Mama B and Uncle T. And then this is my first solo project under just Mama B, and the album's called Imagineology.
Yeah, awesome. And it sounds great. I was checking it out
the
last couple of days. It's really fun. I mean, it's a kid's album, but the songs are great and the production is great. I really like the production style that you did.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
It was intentional. You know, for me, my background, I didn't start as a children's musician. So my background is pop music and jazz and working with all types of different producers that are in hip hop, mainly pop. So like the art of writing a song and writing like whatever genre you're in, that should always be your goal. That's my goal, at least, is to have that like with kids in mind, have those melodies and lyrics that work for kids, but also feel good for parents sonically. Right? Just because it's the children's genre does not mean the producer should be any less than talented than any other kind of producer you bring into the project. The same goes for any musician. So I put together my go-to list of creators that I work with on all different types of projects outside of children's music. But they were super excited. No one's ever that's worked on this project had worked in the children's space before. And we all had such an amazing time writing with families in mind.
Yeah, the music just makes you smile. It's fun. And we've all grown up hearing kids' music, but it's really progressed quite a bit, like Sesame Street and that kind of stuff, which still stands up to the test of time. You have a really interesting background because obviously we have this part of your career, but then you also have a music executive background. And you've written a lot of music that showed up in TV shows and films and this kind of thing. Tell me about how you got started.
Yeah, so my background is I've always had a deep vested interest on the music business side of the industry. Obviously, I've always felt like a creator myself too. So I never stopped writing songs or performing. But I always was like really interested in that executive path and what that would look like and what part of the industry like felt the most organic to me. And for me, I'm a songwriter. So I was most interested in understanding the business of publishing and songwriters and how I could help those creators, knowing that I'm one of those creators myself. So I felt like the publishing side of the business was a good place for me to really put my knowledge forward and really help leverage my experience as an artist myself. I feel like I've touched every side of the music business side. I've started in marketing. I did film and TV licensing. I worked in international departments at record labels. I worked at music tech startup. I worked as artist relations. So I feel like I have a pretty good base and knowledge of the music industry holistically. But, my passion lies with songwriters and helping them create their visions.
Yeah, that's an amazing background. And of course, as an artist, to have that background, there's obviously connections, which helps. We all need that. But just having the understanding of the business is a huge thing. How did you come to wanting to do children's music, to do the first album? How did that come about?
Yeah, it happened pretty organically. I think this is a similar story that a lot of parents feel is they are parents all of a sudden. They are opened up to this whole world of children's content, and understanding the landscape is sort of just whether or not you want to be, it's sort of thrown at you. So as I was getting into it, I have two little boys. I was just testing the water, seeing what's out there. I never really listened to children's music growing up myself. So I wasn't too familiar with the superstars of the industry that I love. Like I think Rafi's music is amazing. Lori Berkener is doing amazing. They've been around for a long time and their music still stands the test of time. So my whole goal was understanding what was out there, as I felt like I could really make a contribution and make contemporary children's music that both parents and kids could listen to and enjoy together. My thought was oftentimes My son is like, hey, play that. Gosh, what is he into right now? PJ Masks soundtrack. Okay. And so I would play it, it lights him up. And then I would drop him off at school. And all of a sudden I'd be like 15 minutes into my drive and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm still listening to this. Right. So like my whole goal is to create a full like body of work where parents could be like still jamming out as they drop their kids off at school and being like, I dig this too. So that was the hope in creating like just like a sonic moment for families to enjoy together.
Right. Well, the thing too, I mean, obviously the parents are the one buying the music, so it helps if they like it. Right?
We're the ones. Children's content is evergreen in a sense, in that again mentality, and it's the parents for the most part until they get a little older that are pressing play over and over again, and it better be something that you want to listen to over and over again.
For the long van ride to Disney.
Yeah, for the long haul, right? Like children get one thing in their mind. It's like one track minds. So I think I wanted to provide something that they'd be okay with, like hitting play over and over again.
Yeah. Well, your first album had over 50 million streams. I think you're on the right track.
Yeah. Obviously, it came from just like a passion of mine and wanting to engage with my kids. My kids were part of the recording and writing process, and they came to the studio. And the collaborators on this project also became new dads while we were in the writing process. It all felt like the right timing.
Kind of organic.
The timing for all of us to be doing this. And I hope to be doing it again. I'm like so in love with the genre and wanting just the response from different families in my community has been so great. I want to keep feeding more good content into this space.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's always needed. I mean, great quality songs. And then it seems like there's an insatiable appetite in that market, right? For children's music and children's creative stuff and film and all that stuff. Who were actually some of your main influences growing up musically? Who were the people that you really looked to?
So my dad was like a diehard Frank Sinatra fan. I grew up in the car on his side listening to those torch type singers, which I love, which I think comes like my affinity for like jazz music and just beautiful melodies and lyrics. And then on my mom's side, she had more of like an eclectic taste of soulful rock and roll. So I got to listen to a lot of Aretha Franklin, the Supremes. But me personally, I am swayed by beautiful voices, Norah Jones, kind of these classic feeling timeless songs that never get old and you can hit repeat on. Obviously, great songwriting always catches my attention.
Yeah, Norah Jones, that's another one too. The production, like the album that had all the Grammys, the production was so simple and beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, and she could play too. She toned it down. I love when, people like rein it in knowing that they can do so much more.
Yeah. Awesome. From the music executive standpoint, when you're dealing with maybe new artists or people are approaching the folks that you're working with, so what are you looking for, like for new artists and how does that work for you? Are you always looking for new people to sort of feature, or how does that work in your world?
I mean, I think that's a good question. For me, it's song first. I know we live in a day where everyone's like, well, what's their social media following?
Right.
Well, that's important. Why artists and creators get into this space is not because they are digital marketing experts. And I feel like a lot of creators are forced into becoming digital photographers, editors, like in all of these spaces. And for me, I actually really love it when, someone sends me something and I go onto their social profiles. It's like brand new and like no one's really discovered it yet. Like I love when it's just pure and organic and there's maybe the machines not behind it yet. Not saying social media is an important part of your art, but I really encourage all creators to really not spread themselves too thin and really focus on what they excel at and what they're great at. Because being pursuing for many years, I pursued my own art full time for a while. And I remember those feelings of just being so overwhelmed with the amount of stuff that like filled my day that had nothing to do with creating music.
Right. Just survival.
Yeah. Like it had nothing to do. Like I felt like, oh, I have to be the best guitarist. I have to learn Photoshop. Like the things that like were sucking my time weren't actually like making me a better musician. So, that's what I look for is just kind of that like authenticity.
Yeah. I think authenticity is a thing, right? It doesn't, because people focus on perfection and, Rembrandt wasn't perfect. Michelangelo wasn't perfect. Sometimes the beauty is actually in the imperfection and the honesty, right?
Yeah. I mean, I love a great song. So
yeah. That always wins the day.
Yeah.
Speaking of Sinatra, those guys, that stuff still stands up. What would be like your main advice, not only as a children's music creator, but just as a creator in general? What's your advice for young people that are starting out? Because it's overwhelming. There's so much noise on streaming platforms trying to get noticed and all that. What's some of the things that you've really learned?
I think is to not get too caught up, as we were talking about the perfection of the art, especially now, like everything looks so curated or can feel so curated that we see and feels like it has to be so polished to release it. And so like what I learned from just like as many creators learn is that after having hard drives of all of these songs that we created but never released, of course, make it the best you can make it, but also release it into the world and don't criticize yourself too much in the process. You know, I'm on this quest now to kind of go through my catalog and release all the songs that I never released as an artist. Like it's important to me as I'm getting older and now that I have kids, that my kids see the evolution of me as an artist, because I didn't put so many songs. I have full EPs, I have full albums that I never released.
Right.
Because I was thinking too hard. I was like, it's not good enough. Now the sound has changed. Like now I need to do this.
That's sort of the artist thing, always second guessing yourself.
Yeah. So I'm just going to go like into my capsule of songs and start releasing EPs from different moments in my life. And I want that trackable. I don't want to be so curated.
Yeah, it's tricky because everybody wants to be seen a certain way, and we get really involved in the branding part of it. Well, yeah, we forget about the nuggets. The actual nuggets are the songs and the authenticity, right?
Yeah, for songwriters, I love looking through their catalogs and seeing sort of where they started as a songwriter and seeing the evolution of the different kind of sounds and the different twists and turns they've taken in their careers. I know that's a little different as an artist, but
it's fun to see like the process.
Yeah, and the growth too.
It's awesome to see that. Your first single, I think, from this album is It's Unicorn, correct? And when does that come out, or has that already been released?
That was our first single that we released about a month and a half ago. And the idea for that one was really like, what would happen? This is when I was experimenting, being like, I'm going to write a children's album, but the production is going to really be for kids, but also parents. At the time, my son was really into jamming out to like a Dua Lipa song. So what would happen if we put production that was actually intended for an adult session and just started writing with kids in mind? So there was many iterations of what like the top line was over that song until we made it. I was like, it still sounds too adult. But it was really an experience. I obviously...
That's a tricky lane, right?
Yeah, we got there. The song's about unicorn. Yeah. It's not an adult song. Yeah, so that one came out first. The second single came out with Pufferfish. Awesome. And the idea for that one was my kids loved the Harry Nilsson song, Coconut. And like that song just has such a, like, it makes you go like this.
An island vibe.
Island vibe. Yeah. It was so catchy. I was like, I needed to have something like that. And I already had the like idea for that vamp of like a Pufferfish chorus. So that's how that one came to be. And then the whole album came out and it's called Imagineology, really because each song is about encouraging kids to not, to think outside the box, to go outside, to enjoy each other, to be imaginative. There's songs about princesses and castles, but the princess would rather fight dragons and be a princess. And then there's a song about a little brother. During the evolution of this album, I had another baby. So I wrote a song about welcoming, from my son's perspective, welcoming his little brother into the house. So yeah, there's a lot of little sweet things that are very personal. And then some things, just an imaginative, cool idea.
Yeah, it's an awesome album. Really great job on that. And I think people it's on all the streaming platforms. And yeah, it's awesome. I'm so excited. It's fun to have new, fresh stuff to listen to for me. And especially like you said, it's a children's album, but actually it's more than that. And that was something that really got me excited. How can people find you online and in the social media world and all that?
I appreciate that question. Mama B Songs is my handle for all social media. So you can find me on YouTube, Instagram there, TikTok the same. Yeah, so I'm just releasing, anywhere you listen to music, you can find Mama B Imagineology.
Thank you so much for taking the time and joining us. And it's nice to learn about you and your background. A really amazing background, even more than what we talked about. I appreciate all your insights, and you're in a really great position to offer artists great information. So
thank you. Thanks for taking the time.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for joining us, and please consider subscribing to our podcast and follow us on our social media pages for guest announcements.